I think what we do, and this has been an obsession of mine, for 60 years. I was 16 when it happened. And what I have learned over the course of 60 years and reading everything I could get my hands on, talking to forensics experts, visiting Dealey Plaza, doing as much studying as I could, I have now, in my mind, put together what I think happened on that day based on all the evidence that has been made available. And I'm really fortunate that Soledad was willing to do this with me because it deserves. People have a right to know what happened that day. And I think when they listen to this podcast over the 10 weeks that we have, they will get the sense of exactly what happened. I am 100% sure that it was a conspiracy. But in the podcast, we lay out very specifically how it was done, who was involved, who the shooters were, where they were positioned, and we get into all of that.
But wait a minute, but you're identifying actual individuals who you say were involved?
Names. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I think there's two sets of people, right? There's people like you, Harvey, and Rob, who are obsessed with this. And I was born after the assassination. Everything I know, I learned in high school, basically, right? Lee Harvey Oswald, lone gunman, single bullet theory, done and done. And so I'm so interested in, one, the obsession and why. Why have we not gotten all that information over 60 years? And then also, what happened to Americans who, I think for you guys who are obsessed, is moment that really changed how you believed in the honesty of the American government and things like that.
Is there a line from the assassination of Kennedy to where we are today in the divide in the country and millions and millions of people who distrust, tens of millions of people who distrust the government and don't believe what they hear coming out of D.C.?
Yeah, we make a direct line from that. We talk about this specifically as the moment, the greatest divide in America obviously was the Civil War. We actually took up arms against each other. But the great political divide started in the 60s when we were lied to, essentially, by the government in the Warren Commission and also in the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, right, and how we got into Vietnam. So it began that divide, and we haven't come together since.
Are you finding evidence, or did you find evidence, that Lyndon Johnson had some involvement, whether it's pre or post? Because clearly, I remember when he got it, the first thing he said is, "Boy, this is heavy," and I thought, "Wow, that's high praise." And right. and Lyndon Johnson and Earl Warren, they had to be somehow involved in suppressing so much of the information and guiding it the way they wanted.
Yes, and the answer to that is Lyndon Johnson did play a role, and we do have evidence. We play it on the podcast. He had a role in covering this thing up and making sure that we didn't get too far into the weeds of how this happened. There we have conversations with J. Edgar Hoover that you hear where they talk about putting Allen Dulles as the gatekeeper to the CIA on the commission, and they talk about limiting investigations, that, now that this happened, the House and the Senate are going to control, they're going to want to have investigations. We have to contain it.
I think our goal was to really connect the dots, so that people could say, what specifically did the new president say? How does he connect to other people? Why Allen Dulles, who'd been fired by the president? I mean, of all the people you would pick to lead an investigation into the assassination of the president, he almost would be at the bottom of the list. And so constantly connecting sort of the dots and highlighting some of the things that just make no sense.